Welcome back to the Hishaku Hideout, a weekly podcast where we talk about the latest chapter and everything Kagurabachi. I'm here with Dice.
Yo.
And today we're talking about chapter 89. Now, let me just start by saying Misaka's got the most aura in Kagurabachi, and it's bar none. Like, this dude, we haven't seen a face. We don't need a face. This dude that's my goat. Misaka is my goat.
Though I don't exactly disagree, it is crazy that you're talking about a character that's been dead for the whole series, huh?
That's right, my goat. He's gonna revive him.
R.I.P.
Nah, but like, just to start a chapter with someone who's been dead literally since chapter 1, since chapter 1. You know, they just talk about like all of their like idioms and sayings about the weather all stem from like this man, this 20-year-old like phenom on par with Samura as a swordsman, like during the war. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, and I mean we'll definitely discuss that last part you said there, but it is cool because he gets compared to Samura, and I also told you this. It is cool that we're seeing these like real life things, like real world lore being attributed to these enchanted blade bearers, because we saw something similar with Samura's Suzaku being described as a phoenix, right? Which is something that is seen in a lot of mythology, right? So I just think that that's really cool how we see like the blending of this story's lore with real life mythology, and it's awesome to see.
Like, even we saw this back in the Mr. Inazuma flashback, was talking about his sister. His sister was talking about like the weather, like just a saying that like justice will rain down. And I think that is so dope how he's like just flushing this guy out that we'll never see. He'll never be, all his impact has already been done. We just get statements and things revealed to us, but he himself will not push the story forward, like in terms of narrative. But Hokuzono uses this like legend, this legend in the world to build up the person that assassinated him. And which I think is funny is his assassin starts off the chapter like almost like on the same level of him. Obviously not because he's older, he lost the will to fight, but still, like, you look at the assassin, the samurai Hishaku, and he starts off at the chapter like really high, and then Hokuzono just slowly like kind of brings him back down to earth. You know what I mean? Just talking about like, oh, he lost the will to fight, and this is further like reconfirmed by Misaka's little brother. Says that my brother lost the will to fight, so we don't know exactly how strong he was at that point, or if he even maybe fought back. Or too much.
Yeah, like that last thing you said there again is what I was about to bring up. Just real quick with the Inazuma thing, it does get me wondering if like Hokuzono was already cooking this up when he wrote that line, right? And that's a little treat for readers like us that are able to like go back up on it and like pick up on stuff like that. Like, I do wonder if that was a little nugget of what he knew he was cooking, or if that's just a coincidence or something that he decides to.
No, I think it's planned. I think he was good about that. Like, just setting up I think his whole thing is executing the Hishaku and the sword bearers. I think that this whole story like hinges on how well Hokuzono is flushing out and making like is like making these sorry about that. How he flushes out these characters, like these specific characters in these groups, the Hishaku and the sword bearers, like they're the cool ones. You know what I mean? Everyone's got a favorite Hishaku member. Everyone's got a favorite sword bearer. And Hokuzono is he's lending credence to them in their past, and then using that to also like stabilize these newer characters that don't just have as much lore or recognition behind their name before we meet them. Like, we have high expectations of every sword bearer, just like we do of every Hishaku member. And Hokuzono is really doing an impressive job of just creating a great villain organization and like really cool sword bearers that like make you just think like on their own like trauma or guilt, their own stories, their own character arcs is like the substance of the story, and Hishaku's like the aura, but their big thing will get slowly revealed, and that'll like be uber important to the story. That's going to give it like the substance, I feel like. And I mean, of course, Chihiro's our vehicle through this, and that's what makes it so engaging week to week, is because Chihiro is like going bar for bar when it, band for band when it comes to aura, and then he's also like delivering these like themes, or presenting themes to us. It's get the honey out. We gotta glaze this man again for another chapter.
Yeah, no, I hear you, but it is cool because once again, we just gotta praise, like you're saying, we just gotta praise the Hishaku, because last chapter we talked about how they do take their L's, right? Like they do have kind of a like not everything has been a W for them, right? With Yura, like individually is something else, right? It's something else entirely. Like that guy hasn't skipped a beat, really. But it's because of moves like this, with what we see with the samurai clone, that we hold the Hishaku in such high regard, because even when it looks like Azami just one-shotted that guy, it turns out that it wasn't that. It's not what happened. They had something up their sleeve, and like you're saying, this guy's tough, man. This guy, he has an awesome design himself. I said he looks a bit kind of like Tony Stark. He's got that Wolverine hair as well.
Oh, he looks like Tony Stark's dad.
Yeah, he's got the stash, but yeah, we see that he's also an animal that's looking, for the best fight. So we like those type of characters as well. What do you think?
No, yeah, facts. You said it. We love those demons that's just looking for a fight, and he's just not interested in like anything. Like he even is like doesn't see the fact that he killed the sword master by himself, and he doesn't even count it as like praise, because like that guy didn't live up to his expectations from the war. Now we know he lost. Misaka lost the will to fight and all that, so it's understandable. But I think that's what makes this guy so great, is he's just not boasting. I killed Misaka. I killed the legend. This young legend. Or this young legend in the war, like this big figure, like that people look up to. He's not boasting about that. He's saying, I killed y'all's goat. He's like not saying that. He's saying it's not that big of a deal. Like it's not as hyped up as you make it sound. And what's cool is we find out that his sorcery lended to they used his sorcery. He lent his sorcery to go kill Kunishige, even though he wasn't there. And we talked about this before, and I just thought about it, Dice. We talked about like what was his sorcery, and I didn't believe it was the puppet, but I think it is the puppet, because we know the samurai Hishaku was there during the killing of Kunishige, but he's also the one that killed Misaka.
Yeah.
I forgot all about that. Like, so he had a puppet there. So the puppet has to be able to fight, or maybe the puppet can use his sorcery. And, he just, when the puppet uses it, he can't use it. That's what I think.
Yeah, no, 100%, dude. Yeah, that completely went over our heads. 3 years ago, your sorcery assisted us while you defeated Misaka one-on-one. So 100%, the puppet that we saw is, it is the samurai, which we get his name, Hokuto. Yeah. Hokuto sorcery.
And that's why there's that extra set of armor in that one chapter after right after Rakuzachi ends. That's the puppet's armor. So beautiful, like just slowly like flushing out characters with minor subtle details that people have to go back and look at. That is like great writing. Like it's not like game changing, like it's like but it's like really good solid writing, like how you introduce a villain that you're excited about. This guy could die in his very next fight. He could be overlooking Azami, and Azami's like, I'm at the hunting ground or whatever, or maybe he meets Chihiro. I don't know. Like, we gotta, like, I really want to see more of him. I'm really, really invested in the samurai.
Yeah, no, same here. Before we get into who he's gonna fight, because I think there's an interesting conversation to have there. I just want to talk real quick about like you just alluded to this what do I call it? Just the scaling situation that we got here, right? Because he does defeat a Misaka that is washed, basically has no desire to fight. I do believe, like you said, that he fought back. Of course, he didn't just let himself get killed, but there is a question of how bad, he wanted it, how hard he fought back. And then him not even seeing Azami as a, as real, like real,
A threat,
just
yeah.
worth his time. Exactly, a threat, worth his time, basically. But
Yeah.
then he's like, his mouth waters at the thought of fighting Uruha without his enchanted blade, but of course his sorcery. So it just maybe people have had Uruha over guys like Azami and Shiva and Hiyuki even without his enchanted blade this whole time. But to me, it's just we keep getting like nuggets, and Hokuzono just kind of laying out the playing field a little bit. And I told you, I don't really think it's as simple as like 1, 2, 3. I think these guys got their own kind of specialties, that they're able to leverage in combat. And just because one guy has better swordsmanship than the other doesn't necessarily mean that they won't lose to the other, So I also don't want to kind of take that too literal, because stories I don't think should nor are written like that, with like that sort of power scaling in mind. But it's still interesting to keep in mind.
Yeah, and like, he mentions, Hokuto mentions about if you manipulate spirit energy skillfully enough, you can achieve ultra high temperatures with mere friction. So here's what I'm thinking, that this guy, basically when they talk about how to use your spirit energy and connects to the sword, I think he might be like the uppermost limit of that. I think that might be his right bag. I think he lit that dude's cigarette with like his spirit energy, like creating friction to like spark it. Like he didn't really actually draw a sword, which would make him a great swordsman, because that means his like control is crazy. You know what I mean? So his like ability as a puppet, but this dude can also like ignite his spirit energy with his sword. So like he's also using fire, but his ability is like the puppet. So like Hishaku, the Hachaku says your sorcery is great, but your real strength is what's behind it, your swordsmanship. So maybe like he's saying like creating the puppet's great, but man, like that's his ability to like efficiently use the spirit energy.
You know what I'm thinking? Based on everything that we've seen from this guy Hokuto, like he seems like the perfect candidate, to wield an enchanted blade, because like we've seen recently with Uruha, he has his own sorcery and he has like a killer swordsmanship, so something like just gives me the vibe, and the fact that he was able to best Misaka, albeit a out of shape Misaka, right? Just makes me think that he's up there with the types of swordsmen that were selected to wield, the enchanted blades. And obviously, we don't exactly know what type of criteria, Kunishige had in mind in terms of, based on what he was selecting these guys. So we don't even know if this guy wouldn't actually been a candidate, but he just, he strikes me as the type of swordsman like the enchanted blade wielder.
Yeah, he's very charismatic. I'm interested to see like what Hokuzono does in terms of Hishaku members like origin stories. Like what's this guy's, like, because Yura, like, of course we're gonna get Yura. We should get Hachakus, but when it comes to like best genist, Kaguri, this guy, I don't know how much Hokuzono plans, because this guy could just be a very charismatic person on page, and that's his thing, because he's a smoke demon. He's looking past, Azami, and Azami's like crazy strong. He's looking to fight somebody, surpassing Azami in his eyes. So that could just be his whole shtick, and that's it. But I think that's what's one cool thing about the Hishaku, is that all of the members are kind of like very, like they're engaging, like even Toyo. I'd like to see what's up with her. We're always asking all these questions about them, and then now we get this guy, the samurai we thought got like no diff, but we see the real version of him, and it's a super, like, he's getting glazed. And I'm looking forward to seeing how his personality pairs with Misaka, the original Cloud Gouger Bear's younger brother Natsuki, that we also see in this chapter. Because you talked a bit about like the them two being the matchups. They're each other's like ultimate matchup, and I think that does pair well, obviously, because the way this chapter is and the connections to it. But I mean, do you think that he's going to get to Natsuki and that's it, or do you think he might have he may battle someone else along the way?
Yeah, so he's obviously going to enter the headquarters looking for Uruha. But yeah, I think as this chapter leads us to believe, I think the guy that's going to get in his way is going to be Natsuki Misaka, to avenge his brother, essentially. And I think that's the battle I'm interested in seeing. Because yeah, though it is interested that we are getting a bit of power rankings to say in terms of how we can start looking at these enchanted blade wielders, even or in the case of Uruha, like he has his sorcery back, right? But I've given this some thought, dude, and I just think that guys like Shiba and Azami, they're, the fact that they don't wield swords might just be what's holding them back, right? And why somebody like Uruha is seen as a bigger threat, right? Like, let's just be really spitballing and just kind of thinking a bit. Like, I don't even know if I believe that, but it's just, it's maybe worth thinking about, right? But yeah, to answer your question, sorry, back on topic, I do think that's the fight to see, man. That's the fight I'm interested in seeing, and I think it'll be good to see exactly how tough both of them are, because essentially both of these characters are being introduced in this chapter, and both with killer introductions well. So
I think that and I kind of talked a bit about this, like, the sword bearers and the Hishaku are like the important benchmarks of the story. They're like the engaging, the fan-centric, characters of the story. Like, there's, I talked about that earlier this episode, and it just, like, Hokuzono, even still, like, aside from those, he manages to create characters that you're excited to see. Sometimes, like, think about Kiri. All the fans were hyped to see her before she even said a word. It's just that one panel. It's like his designs are always like very spot on, and the way the characters, like, they're dynamic. They're like, I think his introductions, like, he nails character introductions too. Like, look at in the same chapter, he's like nailing two like opposites, and they're both like just smoke demons, but two different sides. And we get like the Hishaku in here, who plays like a nice, like, it's nice to see where he's at in all this, still there. What I mean? Because we were
Definitely
wondering, well, all right, so now things are starting to come together. All the pieces are moving. They're all going to be in the same place soon. What's going to happen? It's a major, this arc is going to dictate how much left of Kagurabachi, or it'll be more clear to us if it's only got, maybe an arc or two left, or because I think it's going to be a major fallout, whatever happens here.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about that, but what I do like about both of these characters being introduced is like in this chapter is the idea of like us, the readers, like meeting these two characters for the first time, just to see the lead up to their their eventual clash, because it's worth thinking about whether they're gonna fight in next chapter, in the next 5 chapters, or whether this is something that, now that we see the backstory, it's something that's gonna be built on, right? I think we're gonna get that that fight. Obviously, during this invasion in the headquarters sequence, right? But it's still once again worth thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, I for sure think it starts in this arc and it's gonna end in this arc. Whether whoever walks
Yeah.
away, that remains to be seen. But I mean, just the way talking about going back to Natsuki, I mean, this dude, he doesn't even hear like the announcement about them being invaded. He's just chilling with his headphones on. But we see that he's actually dual wielding swords, and it looks like him and his brother, he had Cloud Gouger, but the other sword that he carried looked like it was a family type sword, or a sword that him and his brother, had a duplicate of. So now he dual wields. He has both of them on his person. So I'm really interested to see how is he gonna like fight. Like what's his like fighting style. I mean, we see like he's quick, with the logs flying at him, both slashes. So I'm not sure how it's gonna go. That's we'll get there, but I don't know. To your point, I just don't know when we're gonna get this. I don't think we're gonna get the fight next chapter. I think that there's a lot of moving pieces right now underground, and now there's also pieces moving. There's also pieces above ground that are like got to get underneath it. So it's gonna be interesting to see how Hokuzono like maneuvers, all these, because maybe they could just teleport your boy, like they did with Hirohiko in the Bloodshed Hotel.
Yeah, man. I don't know. It's tough to say, but I definitely think this guy Natsuki's gonna pop off, man. Whether he goes straight to fight, Hokuto, or whether he gets some sort of warm-up fight before it, tough to say right now. But I think this guy is a real menace, and I think for people that have been wanting to see like Misaka, the Cloud Gouger wielding Misaka in action, I think for now we're gonna have to settle with seeing Natsuki. But I really do think he's gonna be a menace, man. And the samurai, Hokuto might just be, once again, that matchup just might be the perfect one to really see exactly where these guys are at. Obviously, like, because we can't really compare them to characters we know, we're then gonna have to see how they kind of scale against, once again, characters that we know, right? But yeah, man, I just want to see that fight. I guess that's ultimately, I'm just trying to find all the ways to say that that's the fight I want to see, man, because he has an extra chip on his shoulder, after what happened to his brother, and after he was not selected to wield Kumayuri. I think that those are the reasons why this guy is who he is right now, and that's what we get in this chapter. So that's why I'm really hyped to see this guy in action, because I think that the little bit of story we get is really compelling to really plant the seeds for a character that has a reason to be the way he is, and like a natural drive, and something to fight for. So
yeah, I think with Natsuki says that he kept up his training and lived by like the way of the sword, whereas his brother Ibiki kind of lost his will to fight, after the war, for whatever that may mean, for whatever reason he lost the will, like, if he couldn't, there's many reasons why he could lose the will. We don't have to get into that, but I'm sure Hokuzono's going to flush that out as we see their fight. But they have to have, I'm guessing they have a similar fighting style, they have, same sword. They both in it, like, when they're wearing the delinquent outfits, they kind of give off like they have the same style. So it'll be interesting Hokuto's reaction to fighting him, because he fought that sword style before, but it was by his someone who lost the will to fight, who was not in their prime. So now like this guy's dedicated his life to it, and of course he doesn't have an enchanted blade, but in headcanon thought that, you know, it'd be interesting to see Hokuto like maybe make remarks about how Ibiki fought to Natsuki.
Yeah, no, that I could definitely see something like that going down, and I think that would be awesome to see. Like, I could see, you know, even having just met this character, I can see a situation where Hokuto gets hyped, you know, and kind of gets amped up, you know, at the prospect of fighting Natsuki as like a warm up before getting to Uruha, because of the history with Misaka, because he wasn't, you know, he wasn't satisfied after fighting essentially a washed, you know, Ibuki Misaka, right? So yeah, I think that's gonna be an interaction to look forward to. I really hope we don't get blue balled, man, and this isn't just like a huge, you know, distraction, and then like Hokuzono goes the other way. Like we always say, let him cook, right? But like, I really hope that there's something like being set up here.
Yeah, those are like two characters that'd be really, really fun on panels, and you know, just a chapter of them swapping hands and talking shit. But you know, like, you know, one cool thing about Hokuto, like I got a lot of stocks in Hokuto, and I like the fact that, you know, the Hishaku as like our name, you know, our stocks were down for a little bit because, like, man, Hishaku just wasn't winning they fights. I mean, we still need a big W, but like the planning is like going in our favor, so there's that. And now, like, we know that the samurai didn't just get dealt with, but you know, it was a copy, a bottle, you know, a puppet that fooled Azami in a sense. You know, like Azami could tell someone was weird after, but you know, so that was, you know, to get Azami out of position was clutch for them. And you know, like I thought that was real cool. Like, yeah, or it felt good to be a Hishaku hideout. You know, we didn't have to hide. We didn't have to be low key. But you know, I need to see the Hishaku get a W, man. Like a fight. Like I'm sorry, there's got to be someone's got to die. There's got to be a fan favorite, got to die. Hishaku needs to take somebody's life. Not literally,
yeah,
but
well,
I guess that's something I would like to say. Let me just say that. Like, it wouldn't like if the Hishaku don't kill anybody, it ain't gonna ruin the story for me.
I guess I'll ask you this. So, like, who you got between Natsuki and Hokuto? You know what, man? Originally, you know, I would have said Natsuki, but I got it. And that's probably, you know, it's probably obvious, but yeah, man, because I don't think Natsuki has sorcery, right? You know, that's something that's big. You know, that's a big. I mean, it's a big
theoretically he
there.
should have sorcery, and I would guess it's something with music. But it's, you know, it remains to be seen, kind of thing, because we don't see no kind of usage of a sorcery ability or mention of that. You know, like they just talk about the enchanted blade. I wonder if you did have a sorcery, like innate sorcery, and you picked up an enchanted blade, I guess you don't have to pay that cost.
I guess, right?
Yeah, so I wonder if like a regular human picks that thing up. I don't know. That's anyway, yeah.
I mean, but would you be able?
You have to have spirit like awareness. Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. That's one of the things that we're not getting too deep into.
It's too late, man.
Other than that, though, we see, like, and we can kind of like wrap it up here talking about Natsuki. I mean, Natsuki, like, he's just on panel impressive and cool design. We see he's like pissed, or it seems like he's pissed off about, you know, his brother dying or whatever. You know, to me, he kind of seems like he's got some own personal issues, and he feels jealous that he wasn't chosen as an enchanted blade wielder. And you know, I think that might get flushed out a bit more, because there's a lot of focus on his facial expressions in this chapter, and his demeanor just feels very like cold. Like, yeah, he feels like a villain on panel, like, just to be 100% on. I'm not saying he is, but You know what I mean? He gives off like that vibe. Like he's just, he's mad at the world. It's not like before. He just looked like cool and edgy, and then right when he starts talking about his story, and we get to see Uruha like freaking out for being chosen we see him like pissy in the corner, and then it's like close up of his face. I mean, that could just be like a character, trait. He's just like you said, a hothead.
Yeah, he gives me a little bit of like Tenri vibes, just because they've been like highly regarded, and the moment they're not like, I know it's different, right? But like, it's just they're kind of also like physically pretty similar as well, with like the light colored hair and
Tenri if he
kind of angry designs.
If he was on Tess and was actually like dope.
But yeah, but I don't know, just the idea of like being driven to just having a chip on your shoulder. Really, I guess that's probably the one thing I can that really is similar between the two, right? But yeah, man, I just think he's a hothead, like you said, and I think we're definitely gonna see more of that. Like if we see this guy interact with Chihiro, I think we'll definitely see more of that.
Oh,
but it's tough to say for how long this guy's gonna be around. Like, imagine Hokuzono just gives him this badass introduction to have him get killed at the hands of Hokuto in the next 10 chapters. It feels good because
it's usually the other way. The villains get smoked.
Yeah. And it's like both brothers got packed up.
He can go a lot of different ways with this, bro. But like, we know Hokuto's a demon though, because he don't even care about Kiri or Azami. Like he's not really moved until he hears Uruha. And then the parable to his character though is Natsuki. So it's like Hishaku versus Uruha.
Yeah.
And then he's gonna be fighting Natsuki. Like that. Like those are
Agreed.
like the parable fights that I think are like, on point. Then it comes down to what's going on with Azami. Like where's he gonna go now? Because now he knows there's some shenanigans at foot.
He's all alone in the executioner grounds. No one wants to.
I wonder if they like sealed up, like if they trapped Azami outside of the barrier somehow. Like, I don't know how they could do that. Not saying, I don't know what kind of sorcery the Hishaku have. They got that book. Like, the way they entered in was weird.
That book.
Like, they literally just was like, all right, we're going to break in, but we don't know where we breaking into, literally. We just going to pop up.
Yeah, and now Hokuto's about to join in.
That dude's going to be I could just see him, like, just one tap in just a hallway of people, just until get to where he's at, or just I want to see his ability. I'm excited to see his ability, and not only just his ability, but his usage of spirit energy, because he's like seems really refined.
Yeah, man. I mean, I still think it's crazy that this whole time, the first time we actually saw him, it's revealed to be a clone because he was over at Misaka's.
Yeah. So he was there. And
dealing with him,
the puppet thing, I'm wondering if maybe he can, I don't know. Like, yeah.
In battle? Like we talked about this a bit. Like in battle, that shit
yeah, like dude,
cool.
imagine if he could split his percentages or something up like that. Like how much or how strong it is, like it gives a portion of his spirit. Because it always kind of I always thought it was weird how, and I don't want to go into this. Since there's a break week next week, maybe we can like make a video, like if we can find the time. But how they sent 3 of their strongest fighters. They said right. Was Kunishige built different with the sword and we just don't know about it, or like because they moved knowing Shiba wasn't gonna be there. You know what I'm saying?
You're talking about when Kunishige gets
when he died. When he died,
location?
They sent 3 of their strongest fighters, and they sent their 3 strongest fighters knowing Shiba wasn't gonna be there, unless they were just sending 3 just in case Shiba did pop up. Like when they killed him.
Yeah, because it's the three. It's the three they sent, right? It's Hatshaku,
Shishaku.
Shishaku, and then this body double, which isn't really all that from what we can see. So Shishaku we know Hatshaku's like that because he's never really even tried.
Yeah.
Like from what we see, like he's never been seen to really, give too much effort, and he's still able to output crazy destruction with his like tree sorcery. And I'm thinking Shishaku is just a killer. Like honestly, like, I think she probably got some crazy sorcery and is probably like has the most bloodlust out of all of them or some shit like that. I don't know, right? But yeah, it is interesting that it's them three, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but all I gotta say is, man, one thing I did like is, it seems like every enchanted blade wielder is dealing with some sort of like mental block after the war, which is, of course, is like, it's a terrible thing. And then on top of like what happened, they do feel, partly responsible, or, they have guilt about it. And I really like that Hokuzono spun back and showed us like Misaka, you know what I mean? And at least gave him some story. He's not just this like, name in the world. You know what I mean? He's the first one that died with Kunishige. So, I just like seeing him being brought up in the story personally, especially when we got his design reveal. I'm just happy to see the back of his head again.
Yeah, we probably won't, nor do we really need to see his face. The
dude's a stud. I'm 99% sure that dude Misaka fucks. Okay, look at his brother. his brother. He's probably the common. Never mind. Let me stop before I get crazy. I wonder how much.
Yeah, you're about to wild out.
Late. I wonder how much his like arm weights are, the wrist weights he uses with his swords. I wonder how much them bitches weigh, because he drops them. Lucy, they even like break. They don't break the floor, so he ain't on that no crazy. Yeah, he's not like making earthquake.
But yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm 100% like on board with you. I do like that he gets his kind of respect as a sword wielder, even though he's not really present in the story. He still gets the Uruha and Samura treatment. He's not just like a John Doe, so I do like that. And even though he's not, in the story, the implications of his death, right, have been very, clear in the story, from him being killed essentially the same night as Kunishige, to Sojo obviously wielding his blade, to now his brother potentially about to fight the guy who killed him, right? So it's cool that we don't get Misaka as part of the story itself, but he has a cool design. His legacy kind of lives on, and he even has a younger brother that I would argue has a cooler design, only slightly cooler with the.
It's Ibiki Misaka till I die, and I'll tat it on my back.
I like Natsuki, man. He seems like a brat, even though he's like tramp stamp.
No, he does look fire.
Natsuki just seems like but he seems like a like a mid-30s-year-old brat. Yeah. That's kind of what I like about it.
He never grew up. He's just swords. Yeah, like I want to see Kaguri talk to some of these people, man. Like just because Kaguri how he is with the sword, you know what I mean?
He's fanboy, bro.
And you know what? Another thing we didn't talk about: the AI White Fury styles touted for its speed, but then they're glazing Misaka, saying he's like on par with Samura and swordsmanship. And that's what I'm saying.
Style?
What's that style? Like, you know what I mean? And then because his brother, like I said, most likely has a similar style. So, and his brother, now you did bring up his brother's the one that's like saying this himself. He's narrating this part, saying he was like comparable to Ibiki, his older brother. But if that is even a bit true, this dude has got to be a freak because he kept up his swordsmanship like the entire 18 years since the war ended.
Oh yeah, I'm of the mind that if he wasn't on par with his bro when they were at their peak, he could have easily surpassed them now, especially with the, like I said, the chip on his shoulder that his brother lost his edge. He'd be like, no, that's not gonna be me, like that's not gonna be me. Especially when his brother had already told him, well, any bit of weakness, that's what happens. Like he has every motivation to, like, every reason to be the way he is, right?
Facts.
It's just tough, right? So I do think he's gonna be like a very intense character. Like I could definitely see Kiri like goofing on his ass because he's so, just so serious all the time or whatever. And they're both commanders, right? So that's something else. Do you think we're gonna get like another commander next chapter? Like we might just get like all the Kamunabi commanders.
Yeah, that's what
revealed,
that's what could be happening here. Is we get another POV switch, and that we get two more chapters of probably three, because they're also going to do from the anti-Cloud Gouger squad reveal, or like not reveal, but like his chapter, like bringing him back in the story. But then there's two silhouettes still that we need to see, two more elite squads. So maybe that's going to be the next two chapters. I don't think we continue with these guys. I think this ends here. Like maybe it stays with them, but I think it's going to be another POV switch when we come back from break. But who knows?
Yeah, and I guess one of the last things worth really thinking about, though it might not be too important right now, is who do you think is Togo? Because obviously Kiri is part of Izaru's squad. Natsuki is now, we get revealed he's the commander of Togo's squad. So who do you think is Togo among the Kamunabi leaders?
We know Kudo's. Didn't we meet Kudo's leader, elite commander?
Kudo's elite commander. Who are you referring to? Describe
the dude that basically got his by the big ear girl and the transformation dude. Like he was the one that got held up by them, but basically told Hakuri to run. I wasn't sure if he was the commander or just like in the troop. But I mean, I think Togo might be the one that was going to check the computers. Like, there was that comment out during the Swordmaster standing up chapter. We saw that one Hishaku Kaminabi member going down to check on the computer people. I'm thinking him. I don't know if we got his name yet, but
I'm trying to remember who that was.
He's the one that looks like the teacher, Mr. I can't remember his name, from Danny Phantom.
Okay, that guy. Okay, yeah, the guy with the earrings. So you think Togo's the guy with the earrings and the elf ears, like I always say. Okay, for some reason I think Togo's the big big main guy.
Yeah, I was thinking him too. I was like, maybe him. And I was like, maybe the female, because she looks. I ain't gonna lie, she be slaying her looks. She looks like a very businesswoman. She looks very independent woman. It's giving.
And these Kagurabachi females got you in a choke.
Kagurabachi semi. You know what I mean?
All right, man. But is there anything else that you? I know we've been kind of all over the place, really. It's just one of those recordings. But is there anything you want to get into? Anything else you want to brush on? Touch on?
I'm said all I think I got on the chapter. We'll think about or looking at see if we could fit in a video for next week on the break week. We'll drop something on the community tab, so be on the lookout for that. Like and subscribe. Dice, what about you? Anything?
No, man. Besides just looking forward to see what we get next chapter, whether it's another POV switch, whether it's another commander introduction. Maybe we jump back to Chihiro Samura, though I don't think so. I don't know, man. Hokuzono got us on our toes.
Yeah, I guess it'll be interesting to see. Comment below what y'all think. We're gonna go next chapter, and see y'all later. Peace.
Peace.